All right, what do you say we get started? Friends, are we ready to get started? Yes, okay. You have seen this slide for the past day and a half. Please make sure you make purchasing decisions based off of currently available information and data. Great. Let me introduce myself. My name is Lisa Dick. I am a part of the admin relations team. And we literally exist as a team because of all of you. Our job is to get content to you. And today, we're gonna talk about essential habits. Here is the survey slide. There will be one at the end as well, and I will not speed through it, so you can put your phone up there and have a chance to win passes to next year's Dreamforce. But we are here to talk about you, and we're gonna start that with a thank you. Our team starts everything with a thank you, and there's a reason for that. You have taken time out of your work week. I know everyone has a to-do list like 10 miles long. I know when you checked your phone over lunch, you probably saw a bunch of new things, requests from people back at work, back at your office of like, can you remind me how to set the permission for that? You're getting things coming to you while you're here. And I just want to say thank you for being here and taking the time. I know it's a lot. So who was just in the admin keynote? Okay. I was also sitting in the admin keynote, and there's a couple of things that you heard in the keynote that we're gonna talk about a lot here. I'm gonna move off to the side so y'all can get pictures of slides. But you know, in the audience, that you all solve real world business problems, right? You are in there doing the work with and for your organizations. You're supporting users. You're managing large amounts of data. You're working on security standards, right? All of the trust that we've been talking about built into AI, that is so tied in to security management. And I know that so many of you, right, you have your head of IT coming over being like, let's talk security. We've got all this AI stuff coming down. You are all at the forefront of doing that, and you have been doing that for a very long time. And lastly, you're delivering analytics. You are running reports. My guess, how many of you have people coming to you being like, I need you to run my report, and then no one's ever looked at that report ever again? It's really frustrating, right? And so you're doing all of these things, and you're also just trying to like be a human, right? And you're trying to like manage all the stuff that everyone else has to manage in their everyday work life. So let's talk a little bit today about how you can build some habits around some of those activities to make your life a little bit easier. How many of you would you consider yourselves to be like really new admins, like year or two? Okay, that's a lot of you, which means the rest of you, 2 or above, raise hands. Yes, okay, great. I know it's lunch, don't be shy, it's okay, right? You can eat and raise your hand at the same time, it's all right. So the really cool thing, and why I love giving this presentation, is that whether you've been doing this for a long time or whether you're new, it's always really helpful to revisit your habits that you have built in your role, right? So let's kind of think about what we consider to be a habit. It's kind of like when you're young and you're learning how to ride your bike and you look both ways before crossing the street. All of a sudden, it's this behavior that you always do, right? You don't think about it, you just do it. But the critical thing about a habit is really important. It's not just rote behavior. A habit has intent behind it, right? You want to make sure you're doing that thing for a reason. So if you're running a report every Monday because someone asked you to run a report every Monday, are they reading that report that you're sending them every Monday, right? Are they even accessing any of those dashboards that you are spending time putting together? So creating those habits and making sure that there is intent behind them is really important. So as we go through this today, we're gonna walk through each of these admin core responsibilities, and I'm gonna show you an actual like calendar. Because oftentimes, I don't know about you, but a lot of times when I come to events like this, and I sit in the audience, and I'm like, okay, but what is the thing? What's the thing that I'm supposed to do? What is the thing that you are giving to me? What is the thing? And so I wanna make sure that I'm giving you a thing that you can walk away with so you feel like you understand what good habits look like for you. Now, the other thing that I want to say is when I do kind of walk you through a couple of examples, please, again, take all the pictures of all the slides that you would like. We're going to start with user management. And this is really making sure that your users can just do their job in the Salesforce platform, which I think you can all agree is easier said than done, right? You're designing and customizing those user experiences. You're managing what oftentimes becomes a really time-consuming role of managing profiles and permissions and groups, and you're communicating with your stakeholders. And for so many of you, your organizations are different sizes, right? There's no sort of one size fits all in the admin role. Like, there's large organizations that have different communication needs and really small organizations. So we'll talk a little bit about kind of what building good habits looks like. Okay, so here is where, when I talk about making those things a habit, what does that mean? Right? I am someone who's like, I need to like write it down and like put it on a calendar or it's not happening. I have tried so many organizational systems, sticky notes, bullet journals, you name it. I've tried it. For me, it helps to put it on a calendar. So we've got a couple of recommendations here about what, for in this case, user management, good habits will look like. And in this case, I want to also be very clear. I am very much of the school of take what you want, leave what doesn't work for you, right? So let's walk through a couple of these. So let's say I'm in my admin role and I'm just really kind of struggling to understand what my organization needs in terms of like talking to me, right? Like, how do I connect with my users? One of the acronyms that we use is SABWA, which rolls right off the tongue, but Salesforce Administration by Walking Around. And also, maybe zooming around, SASWA, if you're remote. And really all that means is like finding those pockets of time when you can have those conversations with your users and really like learning who they are as people. So instead of just getting a requirement from a user, if you're building connections with them, kind of like as you're just bopping around, you're gonna be able to better understand how to define what those requirements are. The next is creating and maintaining a user guide. So the user guide is really making sure your documentation is in tip-top shape. So in this example, well, like making it a habit, maybe you set a calendar reminder every Tuesday at 9 o'clock. I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna go get a cup of coffee and I'm gonna talk to whoever I need to talk to, and we're just gonna have casual conversations. And maybe something like the next upcoming release schedule comes up, because it obviously very casually comes up when you're having coffee and you're like, have you heard of the next Salesforce release schedule? And I'm kind of making a little joke of it, but truly, it is getting up and talking to your users, seeing how they are using it. So maybe it's like, someone's having a challenge, look over their shoulder, see how they're doing something, and see kind of where some of those snags are happening. And user guides is really making sure that your documentation, like I said, is up to shape. And then lastly, schedule time to communicate, right? Oftentimes we're like, oh, I'll see them in a meeting, I'll talk to so-and-so. Make sure that you are scheduling that time to communicate, checking those release notes, going through those release notes with other teams that you know need to know about those things. And again, take what works for you and change what doesn't. So we're recommending that you do some of these activities weekly, quarterly, or monthly. Schedule them for when they work best for you and for your organization, and also feel free to change them. My favorite thing about creating new habits is being like, do I love doing this weekly? Is this helping me? And if it's not, that's okay, they're your habits. So the next is data management. And obviously, for those of you who were in the admin keynote and saw a bunch about Data Cloud, obviously this is a big one, right? Because your data is in a trusted and secure platform, you're thinking about things like data quality, data cleanliness, security of your data, making sure that you're creating those backups and that you're maintaining and improving your org so that your users feel like they're getting a really good improved performance out of the tool. So let's make it a habit, okay? You know this is going. This is round 2, you get it. We've got 2 more to go. All right, so we're gonna pop all these on the screen. And again, these are just examples, but let's say Monday, we're maintaining a backup solution the first Monday of every month. Then we're gonna go through and pull out like duplicates as it relates to all of our data. And the reason that these things are important to make habits and to repeat, this is actually a really perfect example when it comes to your data, and here's why. If you have a weekly schedule to look at your data, and one Monday you realize something is an outlier, because you're looking at it every week, you're more able to say, wait a second, that doesn't look right. Something seems off. But if you're not looking at it really frequently, you may not notice kind of some of those patterns. So that's why, again, it's really important to find a schedule that works for you, but make sure that you're making it really consistent. And then last, again, let's say Thursday. Optimizer is one of my favorite tools because it's so easy to run and use. And when you pull up Optimizer, you're able to look at it and have a really clear idea of the things that are maybe not running as optimally as they could be. And it's literally going run Optimizer. And you'll get a list of the things that you can take action on. For me, this is one of my favorite tools because it's a very low lift way of getting very actionable, quick information on what you need to do to make sure that your org is performing the best way it possibly can. All right, we're already on the third one. Can you believe it? Okay. Security. Again, we just talked a lot about trust and the way that it is built into our platform and also with all of the future things with AI. So this is where communication really comes in handy, whatever your IT department looks like, whether it's one person or 50 people or 10,000 people, making sure that you are creating those relationships and you're setting up time to communicate with all of those teams, and you're talking about things like risk and compliance and anything they might need to know with upcoming releases and how those are all impacted. The next is access and visibility. And here's where the principle of least privileged access comes into play. When you are having users and you are configuring their access, give them the amount of access that they need to do their jobs, and that's it, right? They should be able to do their job in the platform, but they don't need more access than that, least privileged access. And then lastly, staying informed on all of the latest security updates. And again, I won't hit you with a bunch of AI stuff because I know that you've been hearing it, but it really does kind of become very important as you hear security and you think about security, have that little kind of flag in your brain go off of being like, okay, this is my time to check. So, okay, what do you think we're gonna do next? Thank you. We're gonna make it a habit. Yes, we are. Habit number 3. Okay. So let's talk about what a simple security habits calendar might look like. And again, please feel free to take pictures of this and schedule these on your actual calendar if it works for you. Let's say on Monday, we're gonna review a user login history. This is where we are confirming least privileged access. We're gonna say, what are my access levels? Is anybody at risk? Is there anybody in the organization who maybe has changed roles and doesn't need the same access? If you're setting time aside every week, it becomes less sort of mission critical when someone comes to you and they're like, so-and-so moved departments and they shouldn't be seeing this data. And you're like, I did that on Monday. I did it on Monday because I made it a habit. And the next is running health check. And again, this is one of those very simple things that at a click of a button, when you run the health check, Salesforce is gonna give you a health score. It's literally like a little meter, and it'll give you a percentage and a score, and it's even like green, yellow, and red to kind of show you where you're at from a health perspective of overall security within your organization. Very helpful. And again, if you're running that frequently, you know how that's going to ebb and flow. You know what that number should be. And then lastly, you've heard communication a lot because so much of what you do is really good communication, right? You're doing a lot of change management, and so much of that is tied into having regular communication with the teams that you are working with frequently. Put it on your calendar to make it a habit. It kind of sounds silly to be like, schedule a meeting with IT or schedule a meeting with so-and-so just to talk to them about stuff. But it is those things that really help you understand your users and the needs that your users have. Okay, we're going into our 4th responsibility. And this is my personal favorite. Don't tell the other responsibilities I said that. Actionable analytics. I think where the admin community really shines is surfacing data and helping their users understand what's in the platform. However, let's go back to what I said at the beginning of oftentimes everyone kind of turns to data of, I need a dashboard, I need a report, and then you're like, yes, and then you stop what you're doing, and then your to-do list pauses, and you do your dashboard. Is anybody looking at it? When was the last time they accessed it? Do they really truly need this? And so when it comes to actionable analytics, this is the one that I think that needs the most sort of attention, and the one that needs the most planning for. Because again, these are the things that I think, when you're looking at your to-do list, when you go back to your desk next week and you look at your to-do list, how many of those things are requests from other people to do stuff that you're like, are you gonna use it? I hope they do, I really do. But in my experience, in my role, I have been in a lot of situations where people come to you like sort of last minute and they're like sweating and they're like, we have this meeting coming up and I really need you to show me blank. And you're like, I would love to help you with that. Great. But build in time to do those things so that it doesn't sneak up on you and derail your own progress, right? This is how you build your career as an admin, is when you're scheduling time for things, build time in for yourself. The most important habit you can build in while you're building in all of these habits is time for you to learn and grow and keep growing your career. If your whole schedule is filled with pivot, request, need, action, release, you don't have time to build your own skills and focus on more stuff. So by building in these habits, you're building in time for yourself as well. And maybe that time is just like a hot second away. That's okay too. Okay, so let's talk about analytics. So getting acquainted with actionable analytics, building reports and dashboards, defining success metrics for your users. So again, when someone comes to you, and you're like, help me understand why this is important to you. I love your idea. Help me understand how this is gonna help you in that meeting, right? The why behind it. And it's not why to push back, but that's gonna enable you to create really good reports and dashboards if you know what the end result is, right? Because you may think someone's like, I need a dashboard or I need a report on the last 6 months of sales in retail stores in cities that end with Y. And you're like, cool, that would be a neat thing to see. What's your game plan, right? And understanding what your end user is actually asking for is gonna help you create those reports in a more successful way. And again, that goes into communication, right? You're collaborating instead of just taking an order on the thing and handing it over. Then you're becoming an actual true partner that is indispensable, because every admin is completely indispensable, as every organization knows that has lost an admin. Okay, this is our last one. So we're going to make it a habit. Yes, I knew that I could get you guys to do it. I did. I didn't doubt you for a second, even after lunch. Okay, so again, here's what a sample calendar would look like for an actionable analytics, is it like sort of in a week. Meeting with your stakeholders to understand what those important things are to them. Reviewing on and reporting on adoption. This one is my favorite. This one is what we talk about of our people using these reports. Is our organization finding these reports useful and helpful? If they're not, clean them up. Because I'm a person who can't handle like visual clutter. And so when I have a report of all my reports and you're like, this is so many reports. If 20% of those reports are being used, I am freeing you to get rid of the other ones, because it helps you kind of just approach it in a much more organized way. And then lastly, by doing that and kind of by asking those questions of your users, and when you're looking at those key reports, you're building a ton of trust with your users of saying, you know what, I noticed that you actually haven't been using that report very often. Is there something else that I could actually help you pull that might be a little bit more helpful for you or actionable for you? And then you're building those relationships so they can trust that you know what they need from you. So I hope that all of those combined have been really, really helpful. But let's take a look at kind of the last way to do this in fewer than 10 clicks. And I mentioned a couple of things of like, it's so easy. And like, I don't love that sentence, because for some people who have like just logged into their instance for the first time, some things are not easy, and that's okay. But fewer than 10 clicks, right? Let's go by the week. Communicating with stakeholders, put it on the calendar. Running Optimizer, which is literally a click to get a whole list of things that you can address very quickly with specific instructions on how to address those things. Running Health Check. Again, if you're doing this frequently, you're gonna get a really good sense of where your organization is, how they're pacing in terms of overall organizational health in the instance. And then lastly, let's say our last week, we're gonna review and report on adoption. Who's using what, why are they using it, and can I clean some of these up? So there's a couple of resources that we're gonna have you explore, and I didn't update one of them, but this presentation will be available as a PDF after Dreamforce. So I will upload it to our platform so that everybody has access to it. So you can literally take that calendar in case your photos are like, oh no, I forgot to get a picture of that one. But here's the feedback slide that I promised. And again, I will ask so much for your feedback. Again, this is how we get these sessions. This is how we know what you are wanting to learn about. And we are so thrilled that you are here. And I cannot thank all of you enough. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. We would love to get your opinion on this content, so please leave us some feedback on the comments section below. If you did like this content, give that like button a tap, and of course, if you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the Salesforce Admin's YouTube channel. If you want to learn more about being a Salesforce admin in general, head on over to admin.salesforce.com. Thanks again.